Hey, what's good with the YouTube, man? This is your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Room. We're going to talk about today is, how the down south relations between the Southsiders and the brothers hasn't always been the best. We're going to go into a little story outside of San Diego, Escondido, that talks about this, man, and the fact that it stems back all the way to the LA riots. Now, if you recall, the white dude, Reginald Denny, got pulled out of the truck and beat, hit in the head with a brick, whatnot. Well, the same individual that did that also targeted a few Latino drivers. And a lot of these animosities are thought to have stemmed from that. I mean, don't get me wrong, when you live in the same neighborhood with rivals, there's going to be tensions, man. But that seemed to be the particular thing that sparked off a lot of these incidents. I'm going to read this article real quick and then break it down. A local leader of the Mexican Mafia prison gang ordered Escondido's rival Latino street gangs to stop fighting among themselves and target Black people instead, leading to a surge in such attacks, says gang members and authorities. According to court testimony last week by Eric Witholt, an Escondido Police Department gang detective, the order focused on getting Blacks out of Escondido. Witholt didn't name the leader, but federal authorities have said that Rudy Espudo was the Mexican Mafia member who directed street gang activity in inland North County. Espudo was arrested in January and indicted with 118 other people for a range of crimes, including racketeering and drug dealing. Attacks by Latino gang members on Black people, who police say have generally had nothing to do with gang activity, increased sharply after the Mexican Mafia's orders were handed down about 2 years ago. Gang members and experts reached by the North County Times said the order probably stemmed from turf feuds and long-running rivalries in prison between Black and Latino gangs, and are not an indication that a local race war was heating up. Police say one of the most brazen examples of Latino on Black violence occurred February 6th in Escondido. A Black man with his girlfriend and her child was waiting for a pizza in a car on Rose Street and East Valley Parkway when 7 Latinos armed with knives surrounded them. Someone stabbed the Black man nearly to death. A suspect in the stabbing, Ulysses Ocampo, 22, of Escondido, eluded police for about a week. Police said the gang member was arrested after hurling racial slurs and attacking a second Black man who was moving into an Escondido apartment complex. Before the attack, Ocampo says, "We don't want no N-words in our hood," the victim testified. Serious attacks by Latino gang members against Black people have not been limited to Escondido. Such attacks in the past 2 years include a fatal stabbing in Carlsbad and a rash of assaults in Oceanside. In the Carlsbad incident last year, police say Juan Rocha, 21, fatally stabbed Devin Allen, 27, a Black man with no known ties to gangs outside a popular bar. Last week, Rocha was in jail awaiting trial on a murder charge. Carlsbad Police Detective Brian Hargett testified at a preliminary hearing last year that Rocha belonged to a Carlsbad gang that had committed several racially motivated attacks against Blacks, including a 2007 stabbing that led to an attempted murder conviction. In Oceanside, Black gangs have a strong presence. Federal authorities last year said they broke up a major prostitution ring run by 3 of Oceanside's mostly Black gangs. Some territories claimed by Latino and Black gangs overlap, leading to rivalries. Last year, 5 Latino gang members and associates were charged with hate crimes against Black men in the Crown Heights neighborhood. Also last year, several Black gang members were charged with murdering 2 Latino teens who weren't gang affiliated in Libby Lake Park. Prosecutors said the slayings occurred soon after one of the Black gang members was attacked by Latino rivals. The Latino gangs have battled each other at least as fiercely. The Mexican Mafia ordered to unite rival Latino street gangs against a perceived common enemy may have been a commonly used tactic by the prison-based syndicate's leadership to stop infighting and increase profitability, said retired Sergeant Richard Valdemar, who spent much of his career investigating the Mexican Mafia as a gang detective with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Because they can play the race card to motivate their soldiers on the streets, that's what they do. Minor racial tensions turned into a cycle of violence during the Los Angeles riots in 1992. Damian Football Williams, a young black gang member who famously beat white truck driver Reginald Denny on live television during the riots, similarly attacked drivers of other races. When footage aired of him attacking a Latino man, Latinos began attacking blacks in prison and in jail. The Mexican mafia put out an order to kill Williams and later to go to war with black gangs, he says. Williams was not killed and is currently serving a state prison sentence for an unrelated crime. Mostly Latino gangs that included black members were ordered to remove them from their ranks. Mexican mafia leaders' motivation for stoking racial tensions had little to do with actual racism. Instead, they were based on profitability. They wanted to take over drug dealing operations in South Central Los Angeles, where black gangs thrived on crack dealing. It's all about money and power, he said. The Mexican mafia originated in the California prison system, which remains its home turf in the center of its power. Some Mexican mafia members direct activities from behind bars, and when they get out, they bring their prison rivalries with them. Rivalries are mostly drawn along racial lines, Special Agent in charge of the California Department of Corrections Special Service Unit says, which investigates the prison gangs. But that doesn't always mean feuds have to do with racial hatred. Most incidents are not racially motivated, they're gang motivated. It's usually over a drug debt or a disrespect issue or a power play, which may have been the case in Escondido. A North County Latino gang member familiar with the order to attack black people in Escondido said it was one of the first commands issued by Espudo, the man accused by federal authorities of being a Mexican mafia member who directed all local Latino street gangs. When he first got out of prison, that's one of the first things he did, said the gang member, who spoke to the North County Times on condition of being anonymous. He saw how things have changed from when he went in to when he came out, so he made that green light. Green light is a gang term for permission from the Mexican mafia to beat or kill someone or a group. But he also declared a peace treaty between the two major Latino street gangs in Escondido. He basically said he didn't want to see any more violence between those gangs and to instead be racist, basically. The gang member's account was echoed in federal indictments in which authorities said Espudo collected taxes from street gangs and forbid graffiti in San Marcos and Escondido in order to increase profits and reduce conflict, as well as police attention. Black gangs from Oceanside and elsewhere had been moving into prostitution in Escondido and nearby cities, the gang member said. It wasn't so much race-based, but when you show that sort of activity and you get more police presence, and probably because the Mexican mafia controlled gangs aren't making a buck off it either. Now, it's interesting, that's the end of the article, but it's interesting that, they would tie so much back to those riots, man. Is that something, that's going to draw attention? Everybody's going to see, a Latino person being beat or not. Yeah, of course, man. But you got to remember, man, you live in the same neighborhoods. You got your thing going, you're hustling, you're trying to get your paper. And there's another group that's not your group doing the same thing in the same area. Man, you want all that money. You're like, man, this is my neighborhood. They're like, man, this is our neighborhood. And that's going to have a conflict, man. And, all over Southern California, especially in LA, there's going to be a lot of times when Southerners and black gangs, Crips, Bloods, whatnot, are going to bump heads in this fashion. And that's going to lead to animosity, man. And the old decades-long, sides that have been chosen, pitted the Southside Mexicans against the blacks. So for decades and decades, they've been considered the enemy of each other. What are you gonna expect? You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Will it ever change? And probably not. There's always going to be some kind of animosities as long as people are trying to control a certain specific area for illicit, gains. You're going to bump heads. When you got a bunch of alpha males set up shop on one side, a bunch on the other, and there's not going to be no compromise. Everybody's trying to be the top dog. Things are going to happen. Is it necessarily racially motivated? Man, I wouldn't say so much. I would say that it's more about dollars and gangs, not necessarily just because they're black gangs. If it was somebody else, encroaching or perceived sort of disrespect, whatnot, it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. There's too many people in small areas trying to maximize their profitability. So I don't know. It's been decades and decades of back and forth, back and forth. People are going to get involved with other people's cousins, old ladies, and things. Somebody's going to be selling dope somewhere, and somebody's going to take offense to it. People are going to get drunk at parties and say shit. Youngsters are going to act any old way, and it's an interesting situation, man. Because all them groups down there are powerful, especially the Southsiders, man. They're deep, but the Crips and the Bloods ain't no joke either. They'll handle their business as they see fit. Can everybody just get along? It's hard, man. It's hard when you're boxed into a certain area. You got generations there. Somebody else has generations there. And you feel like somebody's impeding your progress to maintain total control of all criminal activity in that area. It's not easy to see somebody else getting paid in your spot. I don't know. Anyway, that's just a little something, man, about things that have been going on down south for a long time. What's the source of it? In my opinion, it's all about money and territory. It's not so much even we don't like you because you're this color or you look like that. At the end of the day, man, it like it was said in the article, man, it's a good thing to have a common enemy to keep your people, from fighting one another. And then at the end of the day, it's all about maximizing profitability. This is your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Room, man. I hope you guys have a good day. I'll be on live in a little while. Feeling a little bit better today, so I'll see you all soon.